But to continue our reviews of Ultraman Blazar, we're doing 3 episodes on.
Yeah, normally we do 2, but
one of them was a bit of a filler episode.
yes,
At the
it
end.
wasn't necessarily filler, but it was like a recap-ish episode. But we got some tidbits. It had new footage in it as well.
Yeah.
But let's get into this one. We got episode 11 and 12. This is another 2-parter featuring the kaiju Gebalga, right?
Yeah, it's Gebalga.
Yes, Gebalga. Pretty crazy kaiju. You see him right above Dan's hair there. It looks almost like a starfish robot
Yeah,
thing.
and like the little balls on it kind of to me look like eyeballs. They never referenced it, but to me I thought that those may be its eyes.
Yeah. And it's a pretty crazy kaiju. It hacks into things, disperses EMPs. Pretty cool design. The episode starts off where there is a meteor heading to Earth, and it's suspected to be a kaiju. So like kind of SKaRD jumps into action. But the episode prior to hearing about this meteor, they're kind of picking up where we last left off. They're like, is Ultraman still an ally? Because Ultraman has been having his struggles fighting with himself. He stopped the missile barrage on the kaiju from the last episode, and the Defense Force is kind of pissed that he did that, and they're like, we don't know if we could trust him. And Gento's like, we're going to have to kind of play it by ear here with him and see if he's an ally or not. So, sure enough, they send some early orbital missile strikes to try to shoot this meteor out of the sky, which they're pretty sure is Gebalga. And sure enough, Gebalga just blasts them with some shield or his EMP wave. They explode and it fails. So they send SKaRD out into the field to try to shoot Gebalga down with their railgun, and sure enough, they're there to line up the shot. And as the meteor Gebalga is coming down to Earth, they got the shot lined up perfectly. They're like, let's take this. And he just dodges it perfectly fine. Lands, and the battle begins.
Yeah. And, they start the fight, and it's Earth Garon. And finally, a little bit later in this episode, they kind of address Earth Garon. But he's not doing good. And then he realizes, like, hey, like, this is an EMP that's going to go off. So
they start detecting that energy.
So they turn tail and they start running away, because obviously a mechanized giant robot isn't really the greatest thing to be fighting a EMP with. So they try to escape, and they just can't outrun the EMP. It eventually catches up and just puts Earth Garon underwater.
Yeah, they're like, Gento is in Earth Garon with, I believe, was it Henri or Emmy? I forget who.
I think it was Henri.
Yeah, they got to the point where they couldn't outrun it, so they tried hitting the jets on Earth Garon, and they started flying up into the sky to try to outrun this EMP, but it catches them in the sky. So they fall from way up in the Earth's atmosphere and crash into the lake. Henri is just knocked out. Gento is like, what do I do? We're underwater. So that's when he's like, all right, I'm going to go transform into Blazar. And he begins fighting Gebalga. And, Gebalga's absorbing his Blazar energy. Gebalga's like super OP with his shields and energy fields that Blazar's not really putting up that well of a fight. Blazar goes to try to throw another energy sphere at it after Gebalga absorbs the first one, and then he gets stuck holding his arm again like he did in the previous episode, and he's struggling with himself. And we see Gebalga go into back into the meteor form like a ball and begins rolling at Blazar. Blazar takes up off into the sky, flies away, and there's a massive explosion. And then Gebalga sets off an even larger EMP, and the episode ends there in complete chaos, and the whole operation is a complete failure. And the military turns to the commanding officer in charge of SKaRD above Gento, and it was like, what was that? What are you guys doing? They retreated with Earth Garon. Then Blazar showed up and just left us hanging. They're like, is he on our side or not?
Yeah, I mean,
And
that was like, I mean, I understand it looks bad to retreat, but like,
it's common sense.
I'm
You
like,
get hit with an EMP.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I was kind of thinking.
they're like, if he was going to send out an EMP to damage everyone, don't you think you should have tried to stop him? Well, how are we going to stop him?
yeah, so I was kind of like, what are they like? I'm more worried that Earth Garon never finishes the fight.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
this one, I was like, this is the one you can kind of let slide.
Yeah. That's where this episode starts off, with them getting yelled at about Earth Garon. They're like, when's the last time you even completed an operation without Blazar's help? And now we don't even know if he's on our side. The fact is, the only operation that was completed without Blazar's help was Bazanga, when SKaRD wasn't even around, though.
Yeah.
SKaRD wasn't SKaRD yet.
Yeah, so, you know, that was like kind of like my one little gripe with the episode. But again, it's, you know, I didn't think it was too big of a deal.
Yeah.
Rolling into episode 12 kind of kicks off where they were before, basically getting yelled at as to like, why did you guys run? You guys damaged Earth Garon again. Like, how are we going to get this thing back in? We have Gebalga just wreaking havoc on the countryside, constant EMPs, going through cities. So they come up with this idea of these Tilsonite spear, and it's basically made out of the Garamon armor, like the spikes.
Yeah, the metal and meteorite elements from Garamon when they previously fought him a couple episodes back.
Yeah, and I thought
I thought it was a cool throwback to Garamon, because that's been one of my favorite episodes of the series so far, just because of the Ultra Q references. One of my favorite kaiju robots, cyborg things, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So on top of that, because Blazar retreated last episode, Gento's all like, what's going on? And I got like really confused because I thought it was Gento that made him retreat.
Yeah.
It wasn't clear.
The whole conflict, I didn't know who was stopping who. Like, if it was Blazar stopping Gento, Gento stopping Blazar. But it was Blazar stopping Gento the whole time it's been.
Yeah.
And we learn later on in episode... Well, is it this episode? Yeah, we learn later on in the episode why he has been. But Gento leaves the Blazar coin in his locker and just leaves, and it's like, you know what, we're going solo on this one. And they're like, all right, we're going to try to use this spear, this Tilsonite spear that we've created. And the plan for the spear is that it's super strong metal. It's pretty much penetrates everything. As we saw in the Earth Garamon episode, Garamon fell on Earth Garon, and just one of his spikes just went through the cockpit and almost killed our SKaRD pilots here. So they're like, we're going to shoot this thing. We're going to get it right when it's about to open its eye, mouth, organ, they call it an organ, to put out this EMP. We're going to shoot this spear into it, and it's going to stop it from being able to create EMPs. So sure enough, they are facing Gebalga. It's almost a Evangelion type thing where Unit 1 was crouched down with the sniper rifle, and they were waiting for I can't think of I think it was the pyramid thing. I can't think of the name of it right now.
I've never watched Evangelion, so I have no idea.
It was such an Ava reference, that whole shot. And they were basically waiting for it to open up to take this shot, to take it out, so it could like almost like hit its core like an Eva.
Yeah.
So sure enough, Gebalga opens up to set off the EMP, and right as the EMP is about to go off, they fire the spear, and it penetrates and destroys Gebalga's EMP organ. And they're like, all right, time to fight. So Earth Garon's actually putting up a pretty good fight in this episode, and I really thought that Blazar was not going to appear this episode.
I thought that they were going to resolve that. Like, the next episode was going to be the...
Yeah. And they were putting up a pretty good fight, but then Garon kind of like falls down, and then Gebalga gets on top of him and it's kind of hidden away.
Yeah.
And Gento's kind of is not piloting Earth Garon, and he was actually ordered by his crew prior to going out on this operation that he couldn't even drive the van. They're like, "You're just here to command us. You're a commander. Command. You're not here to be in the action. You're supposed to be telling us what to do."
Yeah.
So they're kind of even like questioning him because even earlier in the episode we got to mention the captain's like, "Why is your commander 10 kilometers away from the fight scene? He was piloting Earth Garon, and how did he end up 10 kilometers away? Why is he abandoning this operation?"
Yeah.
So they even said he abandoned it, and we know that he was in with Blazar when he took off. So he's just on the ground shooting with a rifle at Gebalga, and he's like, "That's it." He's like, "I'm in trouble," and he goes to transform, and he doesn't have the coin. He remembers that he left it in the locker, and then Blazar kind of like takes over and gives him a whole memory thing, and we see how they finally met years ago on an operation where Gento was clearing a building. I mean, we've been seeing the flashback throughout the whole series, and it turns out that the last couple times Blazar had stopped Gento from killing a kaiju, it was just to protect him and protect his morality, I guess. I don't really know. From my understanding, Blazar was trying to protect him and not necessarily stop him.
Yeah, no, it was more like I'm gonna protect you from yourself type of thing.
Yeah.
And
Just sort of like Gento saved Blazar in a way in this whole operation years ago. And I still feel like we don't know enough about that operation. I feel like we need to see more from that day.
yeah.
I don't know if they're going to show it.
Yeah,
But,
that part's just like a little unclear, but I'm sure we
Yes,
might get
it's
some
very
type of backup
unclear. Yeah.
about it. But basically, like, the coin goes flying out of the locker, goes back to Gento. He transforms, and then he's like, "Okay, we're ready to fight. We're all on the same page." Starts fighting Gebalga, grabs the spear, pulls it out, and then
As he grabs the spear, like a coin forms from it.
yeah. So then he gets a Garamon coin, so he puts it into his henshin device, activates it, and then he gets this awesome, like, sword.
And it makes the Garamon sounds like...
Yeah, and like he pulls like the thing, and like the EMPI thing like rotates and charges up the sword.
It's that like metallic clanking that Garamon makes when he walks around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. So, of course, just like when he got the rainbow coin, instant kill on Gebalga. Didn't even put up a real fight.
Yeah, just split him right down the middle. Classic cut in half.
Yeah. And then we cut back to the general, and he just goes, "Second wave has been stopped." And then he's like, "Ooh."
He's in on it.
Yeah. So then Gento goes back to the control room and sees obviously the locker room is basically like the lockers are destroyed because the coin flew out of it and then it went through a concrete wall. And I guess it's like kind of like the comedy of the.
And he starts laughing about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how the hell are they gonna explain that away? A massive blow through the wall in his locker.
I have no idea. But at least they brought some of the comedy back. It's so weird. Like the show went from like a serious tone in the first episode to a couple of silly episodes.
Yes.
And then got very serious ever since the
Garamon episode.
Yeah, the Garamon episode. Or even the one before that where it was like the rainbow monster.
Oh yeah,
that one was also very serious.
Yeah, that was pretty.
So
dark.
we haven't quite gone back to comedy. Now in episode 13, we do get some comedy, but I feel like it's only because it's a clip show.
Yeah, it's sort of it's basically like a clip show. It takes place mostly in the base. It opens up with Henri is basically been working on records of SKaRD's previous missions, which is recapping everything that's happened, and Yasunobu is there. And he's been researching stuff as well. And he basically he talks about himself. Henri talks about herself. We get a little history on the two of them. And then he brings up that he's been looking into the previous Alien Kaiju from uh, Emmy's request. She asked him to look into some things, and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I got some info from a friend, and basically, Bazanga, Gebalga, and Lavira from way back in 1999 all took the same flight paths to Earth. So those three kaiju that we've seen so far, alien kaiju,
All from the same planet.
are suspected to all be from the same planet or sent from the same planet. So Garamon was the only alien, as we know, that was not sent from another planet, as well as the alien Kanan we saw earlier this season. Also, so because at the end of that second episode, when this episode 12, when the commander was like, the second wave has been stopped, I'm like, all right, he's in on something here.
Yeah.
So he's probably an alien, is my guess. And I was like, so what was the first wave? I'm like, because we've had a couple aliens this season, so I never realized that Bazanga was an alien. I thought it was just a sea monster.
Yeah.
Because it was like a crustacean thing that was crab-like, but it turns out he was an alien, and so was Lavira. So
yes.
Yeah, we're on a little alien invasion here. And basically, Emmy shows up after Yasunobu gives that information, and they're like, yeah, we've been looking at this, and every time there's something brought up about these aliens, it gets wiped from the web. And Yasunobu's like, all right, I'm done here. They leave, and it basically turns to Henri and Emmy for a couple minutes, just having girl talk, talking about crushes and their backstories, and Emmy being super smart, finishing school at like 17 and college. And we get a little silliness there, and then it cuts to Taraki and Gento in a hallway, and Taraki's almost like just like grilling Gento in this hallway.
He's like, what do you think about Ultraman?
What do you think about Blazar?
What do you think? Do you think this is weird? He just keeps asking him questions, and Gento's like, I gotta go.
Yeah. And then, we kind of just get a flashback of Gento, and he's like, listen, he's like, I was questioning Blazar at the beginning, but I've now realized that he's helped us in every situation. He saved all of our lives a couple times now, so he's here to help us. He's like, I trust him, and I've come around to trust him. He's like, maybe in time you'll make your own decision on if you trust him or not.
Yeah.
And then he brings up, he's like, well, how did you know what a Blazar was? You're the one that named him that. Why did you do that? And Taraki, he knows what a Blazar is. He knows the definition of it.
Yeah.
And Gento has kind of like this flash in his head, and like, boom, it like shows him like a dictionary, and I'm assuming, or an encyclopedia entry about a Blazar. And I guess that was Blazar's way of giving him an excuse. He's like, oh, I saw it in a book, and his light reminded me of the Blazar that I saw in the book.
Yeah.
And Taraki kind of like made like a face like, sure.
So like what I got from this episode was, I think that they're trying to put up a couple red herrings. But like we've seen the backstory on a lot of these characters, but I think one of them might also be a spy.
Or an alien, maybe?
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like an alien spy.
Yeah.
I don't know who though, because
maybe it could be why Taraki was pressing him.
It could be, but then like he's got that tomato farm. And then like unless he like replaced the real Taraki.
Yeah. True.
Or possibly Henri, didn't really want to talk about her past too much.
No, that was Emmy.
Well, no, Henri was like, oh, weren't you from that small village? And she's like, oh, yeah, but I was only there for a little bit, and then I moved away.
Oh. She had the whole country accent and everything? Is that...
Yeah,
I think
she had the Midwestern accent.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice. I thought it would be more Emmy, because I felt like she was kind of deflective too of herself.
She was, but then I don't know. I just feel like I just feel like we got a lot of background on a lot of these characters.
And
So
Emmy
for
was the one to change the subject to having crushes and stuff too. Like she was like, "Oh, let's change the subject."
yeah, but then she was also the one that was looking into the conspiracy theory.
True. Yeah, that's true.
I don't
Hmm.
know. I definitely think they're trying to make us think that there's something going on with the team.
Hmm. It could be.
Who knows?
That's a good point. That's an interesting theory. I like it.
But I mean, we have to see what happens. I mean, we're also like 7 episodes behind.
Yeah,
So,
we're
well,
gonna catch up.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna catch up. I think pretty soon, honestly.
Yeah, we're on episode 21 right now. Um, and for us personally, for shows, as far as shows go this year, this is probably our last show of the year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tight the next couple of weeks, so I don't know if we're going to get anything in. We were talking about doing a
Okay.
top year review thing of our top things we liked this year. So we might do an episode or a mini episode for that, but I don't think we're going to be reviewing any Ultraman Blazar for a little while.
But I think we'll
But
also
we
probably
will.
catch
Next
up
episode.
on a decent amount of it as
Yeah,
well.
we and when we come back for our next set of Blazar reviews, I think we're gonna probably have a few episodes again. I think we might do it on 3. We'll see where we're at.
Yeah. I think we're gonna see where we are on it. Really liking the series, and
Oh,
I'm hoping that maybe we can catch up on reviews or something.
yeah.
But
This is my first modern Ultraman, so I'm really digging it. It's definitely different than the Showa Ultraman that I'm used to.
oh yeah, no, it definitely is. And like, I was watching Decker last year, but then we had the whole break and everything. I didn't really get to keep up with the show.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I can't wait. I mean, I'm really digging it. I like the cast. Cool story. Kaiju's designs have been on point.
yeah, no, definitely.
I saw the trailer for this week's episode. The Kaiju design looks crazy for this one, so I'm really excited to catch up.
Yeah. So I guess it's time to move on to the main event.